Let's listen.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Mr. Crenshaw, how do you do, sir?
I'm fine.
These are the toughies. They don't get any easier after. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Reasonably well, thank you. What's going to happen this next year? Was I right when I said, I think you told me 200 and some odd dates last year you played?
Yeah, and we're on our way to, equaling that number this year. We came here from Duluth, Minnesota.
You are going to go out for another 200 nights or so?
Probably. Well, the thing is, we like to do this, and that's why we do so much of it.
That's all that counts.
Welcome to Man on the Street, brought to you by Showtime Clothing. Check them out at their location in Hamtramck on Joseph Campo. Dan, the owner, has been dressing Detroit rock bands, artists, and performers since 1989. I've interviewed a lot of people on this show, and all of them I love as artists or they wouldn't be on this show. But this guy today, I've listened to his music more than any of them. And I'm really happy to say right now, Marshall Crenshaw, welcome to Man on the Street. How are you?
Jamie, it's really nice to be here, and thanks for asking me, and then finally we were able to put it together. I'm glad we did, or that we are going to. Like that, yeah, right now, here on Man in the Street.
Marshall, in 2014, you were inducted into the Michigan Rock and Roll Legends Hall of Fame. Congratulations. I know I'm a little late there, but the reason I bring that up is because there are so many great rockers, rock and roll artists from Detroit, guys like Bob Seger, Glenn Frey, Alice Cooper, MC5, Susie Quattro, the Rockets, the Romantics, Mitch Ryder, Sponge, all these people, but to me, I would say that you're the best. I know it's subjective. One could argue you're the best songwriter for sure. But my question to you is, you moved out of Metro Detroit very young. You've lived in New York most of your life. Do you still feel a connection to kind of that fraternity, that Detroit rock and roller community that you are part of?
The answer is yes. I do still feel a sense of connection with Detroit, the Detroit region, the city and region. Always love having a reason to visit the city of Detroit. I love being there. Haven't had it. Anyway, like most mornings, I start my day listening to Stephen Henderson on WDET. So I always know what's going on in Detroit from hearing that program. And whenever there's any news about Detroit, I watch the Tigers on the MLB channel. Anyway, yeah, without a doubt, a long time, Wayne, you mentioned the MC5, Wayne Kramer was a friend of mine for many, many years, and it was a gut punch to me when he died just a little while ago. It really meant a lot to me to know him, and I saw the MC5 when I was 14, 15, 16, and, things that impress you when you're that age, they tend to really be vivid in your mind always, So, I mean, I knew him as that figure first, like one of the heroes of my youth, right? And then time goes by and we meet each other in New York, and then we become friends, and so then he's another kind of figure in my life. But anyway, yeah, yes to all of the above, I guess, what you just asked me.
I had Dave Edwards of The Look on this show, the lead singer of The Look from Metro Detroit, and he mentioned he met you, I think it was in the 70s, at Good Vibration Studio in Southfield, Michigan, and he said that you were working the soundboard, and then I think he even said he recorded with you or something like that, but he told me Bruce Lorfeld owned the place. Can you tell us about Good Vibration Studio, Southfield, Michigan?
Yeah, you just now told me the name of the place. I didn't know what the name was, but maybe I knew it then. But anyway, yeah, it was in Bruce Lorfeld's basement, and I don't know, should we say who Bruce Lorfeld is or was? But he's a booking agent, I guess, and a manager too. At that time, I have no idea if he's walking the earth still or not. But anyway, and he had guitarist Randy Volan with him. Do you know Randy? This is a really long time ago, but I do remember that. And what the deal was then was that I was making my exit plan, you know, to get out of the Detroit area, and so I was just doing whatever I could do to get $1 here and $1 there, and I was sort of like an engineer at the studio, not a good one, but that's what it was. And then Dave came in one day and he recorded an Emmett Rhodes song, I think it was. So I do remember, and I remember him. He was really a nice guy, and so was Randy, and we did what we did.
I saw you last couple times you came into Ann Arbor, last couple years at the Arc, and with your new band, great band. And I wanted to thank you because on both set lists, both those times I've seen you the last couple years, you had Favorite Waste of Time. I love that song. I think a lot of your big fans love that song. And I think it's right up there with like There She Goes, Mary Ann, Cynical Girl. But I read that you wrote that song backstage at a Beatlemania in '79 in Pittsburgh. And I wanted to ask you, because I know in the UK, I think that song went to #3. And I was always wondering like why that song wasn't bigger here, maybe on like the Billboard Hot 100. And I wondered if that might have been because it was the B-side for Someday, Some Way. Talk about Favorite Waste of Time.
Had an interesting life, and as per your question, yeah, I did come up with it one day when I was backstage at the Stanley Theater in Pittsburgh. This is when I was in a touring company of Beatlemania, and we were going to open there. And the day before we were supposed to open, I was just at the theater, like wandering around, killing time or whatever, watching the carpenters build the sets. And the title got in my head somehow, and then it just kept going from there and just formulated itself in my mind. I don't think I ever wrote the song down at all, But then a couple weeks later, it's easy to remember, so I remembered it. And I got home and did a version of it on my 4-track tape machine with my cheap microphones and everything. And that version is the one that if you know my recording of the song, right? And it's a real mixed up story, like my version came out as the B-side of Someday, Some Way. Somewhere in there, Bette Midler got hold of the song, but then there was this long delay with her album coming out, so I think my version came out first. Her version was a single, and charted at different places in the world. I forget where, like Germany and Australia maybe. And then about a year after her thing had run its course, an English guy recorded it. His name was Owen Paul, and he was a one-hit wonder, as they say. And the one hit was my song, right? So it's like, you know how it is. It's like any song that was ever a hit. It's almost like they all have a permanent afterlives, sort of. That song, that record of his, is still getting a lot of love over there. It gets played on the radio all the time, wherever that is, I'm kind of glad that it never came out over here because his record of it is not very good. But the people in England and Scandinavia really liked it a lot, right? And they still do, which is nice. If I ever meet the guy, I'll thank him. But he got the song from Bette Midler, from her version of it, and covered. That's what I don't know if has ever heard my version of it to this day, but
I'm going to ask you a question about the pop artist Madonna. Oh, really? In 1985, her first movie came out, Desperately Seeking Susan. And there's a scene in that movie in a diner. There's a jukebox playing with Someday, Some Way. And I was wondering, since, you're both from natives of Detroiters, did she have anything to do with that song being in that movie?
I'm going to say that she didn't have anything to do with it. Nothing, She wasn't the music supervisor of the movie. It was her first movie, so she was probably just glad to have the part. But I love that particular. I'm really glad that song is in the movie because I liked the movie a lot when it came out. It's a real iconic movie of that time period. And they cranked the song up real loud, and I'm very happy about the way that came out.
recently, well, last couple years, I believe it was, the great Rockabilly singer Robert Gordon passed away, and I know you had a friendship relationship with him. Could you briefly tell us about your friendship with him?
In the real world that you and I live in, I'm going to say that I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for him, okay? Because I don't believe in counterfactuals. It's like what happened was he picked up on my songs. He was one of the first people to do that. And it was just part of the, I'm going to say juggernaut, you know, like just the momentum that I had in New York in the very early 80s. He was like, I have him to thank for so much, right? You know, but what it was I used to go around the city. I had this list of addresses of places in the music business that I got from the owner of the rehearsal studio where my brother Robert worked, and I would just march around the city with my bag of cassette tapes. I've told this story a lot of times, and I would just drop them off here and there, and I got callbacks right away on this stuff. And the first call I got was actually Robert Gordon on my answering machine, because I had dropped one of my cassettes off at the apartment building with the doorman at the apartment building where record producer Richard Goddard lived, and he was Robert's manager and producer. But Richard didn't call me back. It was Robert that called me back. And, you know, Robert was really well known at that time. He made some albums for RCA and all that. And, you know, when I heard his voice on the answering machine, I'd never met him, but he had a really, you know, distinctive speaking voice. And I'm like, this is a thing, you know, like the fact that I'm getting this message from this guy is going to change my life. That's what I told myself. And that is what happened, you know, like his version of Someday, Someway got on New York radio. Kind of soon after that, my own first record, which was a single called Something's Gonna Happen, that got on the same station that was really playing Robert's record. It was like, oh, another song by this guy, you know, and that really just kind of made the whole thing snowball for us in New York. And other thing about Robert is, you know, like back then I could never have a conversation with him because he was a wild man, you know, and he was like always in some kind of altered state, and he was really, you know, he could talk really loud, and you know, I don't remember ever having a real conversation with him back then, but later on I did get to know him somewhat. But he was always a kind of a wild card guy, but I really, really loved him, I guess. And, you know, he called me from the hospital when he was dying to say goodbye. So, you know, I guess I know the relationship meant a lot to him, and it certainly meant a lot to me, too. And, yeah, Robert, I'll never forget him.
You have a great band right now that you're working with. You got Fernando Perdomo on guitar and vocals, and Derek Anderson on Fender bass vocals, and Mark Orgman on drums. One of the best bands I've seen you with, and the guys really seem to gel with you. Let us know. I know you got stuff coming up the rest of the month. Let us know what you got going into the summer, any new music or shows with the band. And I got to tell you, I love how you do your selfie videos on Facebook, where you get on there and you say, hey, my next show's over here, but I'm out. I just have to get a new wallet because I threw my other one in the trash. But anyway, my show's coming. I love that. Please keep doing that. Anyway.
Okay. Well, the four of us are out until the 31st of March. We're going to make our way south and then across the southeast a little bit. Then we all go home. And then, you know, I don't think I'll see them again until August. We're supposed to go through Louisiana and Texas and Oklahoma during August. That's the worst time to go down there. But anyway, that's on the calendar. And then east, like the northeast, all my usual hot spots, you know, like Boston and the Acela, whatever they call it, you know, up and down I-95 in the northeast. And then that's in November. And then we're going to go back to the West Coast in next February. That's it, you know. Maybe there'll be some other stuff that comes up out of left field, but right now there's just those 4 other tours, however many I named. There's just that many other tours that we're going to do. But anyway, yeah, the guys are great. They're like really supportive, and I love playing with them. And thanks for nice comments about the band. I agree, it's a cool band.
I want to thank Marshall Crenshaw for joining me today on Man on the Street. And just go to his Facebook page, people. He lets you know all the time what shows he's got coming up or whatever he's doing. And you can catch me here on the next episode of Man on the Street or on villageradio.net, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 Eastern. Take care, everyone.